Like the first round, Round 3 of the Altibox Norway Chess 2018 featured 4 draws and a decisive game. And yet again, it was the Norwegian superstar Magnus Carlsen who registered his second victory in the tournament while rest of the field struggled for their first win. With the white pieces, he defeated Levon Aronian of Armenia to increase his lead over the field to a full point, just 3 rounds into the tournament. The win also means that Carlsen has crossed 2,850 elo on the live rating list. For his third round game, Carlsen deviated from the bishop's opening that he had used in round 1. This time, it was the Berlin that emerged on the board. But instead of going for the freakishly drawish endgame of this opening, Carlsen chose the 5-3-1 variation that keeps some possibility of play. Although, how much this helps towards achieving any tangible advantage for white is hard to tell. Nevertheless, Carlsen achieved a small space advantage out of the opening. His play was more comfortable than his opponent's, and that is typically enough for the world champion. Magnus Carlsen, and Levon Aronian during their round 3 match. Image courtesy, Aditya Pai. Deploying a few quirky maneuvers, Carlsen, in his trademark style, began to put pressure on the slightly weakened black queen side. Aronian defended this, but, in his play from around move 20 to 25, he seemed a bit clueless. While Aronian shuffled his pieces back and forth this time, Carlsen brought all of his pieces in play. Eventually, Carlsen's pressure along the f-file began to become unbearable and cracked Aronian. Aronian's 28th move, 28, h6 instantly spelled doom as Carlsen temporarily sacrificed a knight and plunged in with his queen into the black camp. Even in the best-case scenario, Aronian would have ended up 2 pawns down with no compensation whatsoever. The Armenian #1 threw in the towel at this point. Talking about his win, Carlsen said he felt he was in control throughout the game. I felt that very early on. I had a very nice position, not a lot better, but certainly more pleasant. In positions where you have a slight advantage with more space, it's easier to find good moves. For him, it's trying to break out and then it's easy to go wrong. India's Viswanathan Anand had the white pieces against Ding Liren. The Chinese superstar has been in top form lately. In fact, he hadn't lost a game in his last 74 classical encounters. And this game turned out to be his 75th. Anand chose to repeat a line of the Ruy Lopez which Ding had recently played at the candidates tournament in Berlin. The Indian ace had an interesting improvement prepared to provide his knight a strong outpost. However, Ding was totally unimpressed. Seeking counterplay on the queen side with his rook, Ding managed to maintain equilibrium and was able to hold Anand to a draw very comfortably. The All-American clash between Wesley So and Hikaru Nakamura kicked off with some exciting adventures in the Lasker defense of the Queen's Gambit. Flinging his king-knight pawn up the board, So played interestingly in the opening, giving up castling rights. Nakamura also answered energetically by giving up a pawn to complicate the position. But before move 25, queens were traded and the game had drifted into a complex but equal endgame. Peace was signed after 47 moves of play. The third American in the fray, Fabiano Caruana, played with the black pieces against the French #1, Maxime Legrave. After the Frenchman opened with the king's pawn, Caruana sought his chance to go into the waters of the Petrov defense. Legrave did not choose the in vogue line starting with 5, nc3 but went for the old main line that led to a solid, symmetrical position. Out of the opening, a petite combination won Caruana at pawn. But with his active pieces, Vichier-Lagrave was able to regain it without too much of an effort. More pieces were traded in the next series of moves. In fact, Vichier-Lagrave gave up a pawn to induce this liquidation. By the 38th move, Caruana had an extra pawn, but his weakened pawn structure and the presence of bishops of opposite color made it impossible to make anything of it, and a draw was agreed 2 moves later. Shahryar Mamedyarov's game against Sergei Kartchagin was short and exciting. The game began with the Italian opening and turned very sharp, very soon. But the players looked comfortable, indicating, perhaps, home preparation. On his 20th turn, Mamedyarov sacrificed a knight in a matter of just 4 sharp and precise moves. A repetition of moves occurred. The game spiked the interest of not only the spectators but also the players. Talking about this game, Maxime Vichier-Lagrave said, "There were some nice touches in the game between Shach and Sergei, so that took some of my resting time. Yes, I saw this game as well and I, at some point, couldn't take my eyes off it. And then, rather annoyingly, my opponent made a move and I had to go back." If you're a chess player, it's not a position you can tear yourself away from, said Anand. After 3 rounds, Magnus Carlsen has put himself in a dominating position in the tournament with a full points lead over the rest of the pack. Everyone else, except the 2 victims of Carlsen's phenomenal play, Fabiano Caruana and Levon Aronian, share second place with 1.53. Updated date, June 1, 2018, 12:22 a.m.